Red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light.
Lads and lassies, first of all, grab your pint and pull up a chair because we are back here at the Soul Sessions. I'm your host, Soul, but with me today, well, it's a return of British Strong Style, Lee McAteer, the co-owner of Progress Wrestling. My friend, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much for having us back. Really enjoyed being on the Soul Sessions last time. And yeah, there's been a lot going on, a lot to talk about, and can't wait to tell you all about it.
Oh, well, indeed, my friend, because it's very interesting. It's actually nearly been a year since your last appearance on here. A full calendar year has gone by, which is mental to think about. But obviously, first of all, I must offer my congratulations for your recent chapter 169, The Devil on My Shoulder. Stellar show, Lee, as well. And seeing the whole reaction online, people posting clips, reactions, and just really, truly enjoying the show. How does it feel to just see that wide appreciation for chapter 169?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for the kind words. I can honestly say I feel as though I finally got the brand where I want it to be. And it's taken a while, if I'm honest with you, but I can honestly say I think that, I know it, that this is the best progress has been since I've taken over. I feel as though the team have got the right amount of experience now. Of course, you can always learn more, absolutely no doubt. But I feel as though we've got the right people in the right positions, and now you're starting to see what, dare I say it, what this new progress is all about. And I really, really believe that chapter 169 very much showcased what progress is currently and where it's going in the future. So I'm unbelievably excited, and thank you very much for those kind words.
My pleasure, my friend, indeed. And it was quite a historic show as well. Obviously, Danhausen making an appearance as well. Session Wolf Martina coming back and showing a new side of her as well, which is a bit scary to see. And obviously, the creme de la creme, Luke Jacobs is now the Progress World Champion. And Luke Jacobs is a stellar man himself, done so much. But I do want to reflect on Lycos, because he had that stellar match against Spike Trivet, Twisted Metal, Cage, and won the title. To see Lycos' whole run, what he's done, he went over with the collective. He's kept the fort down at home in Progress. When you look back on Lycos and what he's done as Progress World Champion, how does it mean and what does it feel to you, Lee, to just see what Lycos has done for the company?
Well, to see what Lycos has now become, if you think of what he was like when we first took over Progress to where he is now, the reality is he's a main eventer. He's a mainstay in Progress. He very much refers to himself as the Prince of Progress, the soul of Progress. And I think you can see in terms of the reaction of when Luke Jacobs got that victory over him, what that meant to not just Lycos, but Lycos' fans as well. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is that we're seeing a whole new Lycos, in terms of the fact, obviously, he's lost the mask. We're seeing a whole new development in terms of who Kid Lycos is, what he's all about. And of course, he's got that opportunity to regain that Progress Men's World Championship in our next chapter show. So the question is we'll find out whether or not Luke Jacobs really is just kind of like wow, like literally 10 minutes done, like new champion, whether Lycos wasn't prepared, whether he wasn't ready for it, or whether or not Luke Jacobs is literally just on a whole different planet compared to everybody else. But we'll see. But either way, on a personal level, I'm really proud of Lycos, what he's done, what he's achieved. And of course, if you look back to what he first did at Progress, the point that he's now become Progress World Champion and may well become Progress World Champion for a second time, then of course you can't not be proud of what he's done and what he's achieved.
Yeah, very true indeed. And I've just seen the outlove and support for Lycos on social media, that fans do have a massive connection to him as well. But obviously, sadly, when it came to the ring, Luke Jacobs just got that edge and became Progress World Champion. And we're seeing the backstage reaction that was posted on the Progress Wrestling Instagram. Luke Jacobs seems to be he's a bit cocky with that World Championship now, but he's definitely going to be busy that weekend because obviously he's facing Oku at Rev Pro and then a rematch at Lycos as well. Do you think that maybe gives Lycos a bit of an edge that Luke Jacobs has? Maybe he's doing a bit much to work and that could maybe lead into Lycos' benefit?
May well be the case, but I can honestly say, from seeing Luke Jacobs start off with us becoming Atlas champion and to see where he is now, I have to say he's so determined, in truth, I feel like he's a totally different person to the one that I first met. And do you know what I think was really interesting? That's really kind of kicked him on was his victory against Spike Trivet in America for the WrestleMania weekend. I really feel as though that gave him that huge sense of belief that if he can go and beat Spike Trivet, all of a sudden everything else starts to kind of fall into place. And the thing is, he's an absolute workhorse, Luke Jacobs, total workhorse. So I mean, I've got no doubt that he's got a lot on that over those few days. But I know how important and how much he wants to continue to be Progress Men's World Champion. So I guess we'll see.
Hey, all I know is that ballroom is going to explode with what these two get up to when they finally face each other in the ring. But obviously on that show as well, Riho successfully defended her Progress Women's World Champion, and she's just been having a hell of a run as well. But obviously new design for the belt as well. I've seen it as well. Beautiful, lovely white strap. Everything looks great on a white strap. But two things obviously to ask about. I know you made a comment on progresswrestling.com about why making the change for the belt, but I would love to know of, first of all, the process of making that change, and second of all, what happens to the old design belt?
Some great questions there for sure. So first and foremost, I always thought that it was wrong that the Progress Women's World Championship, in terms of the inner design, was different to the men's design. I always thought it was wrong, even before I became involved in Progress officially, etc. I always remember looking at those two championships, going, I just don't, for the life of me, understand why those inner workings are different. Now, of course, I do understand in terms of what I've been told, etc. But for me, I still didn't think it was right. So it was something that I wanted to do for a while. And we've actually had that championship belt for about 4 months now. And we've just been, because initially we were actually going to take it was going to be used in America. Then it was going to be actually the one that was above the ring for the amazing ladder match at Super Strong Style 16. But in the end, we decided that actually, just with there was a whole variety of things. And I guess coming back to the original stuff that I said at the start of the show about the fact that I feel as though Progress is really where it needs to be and is going to be in the future now, that I felt as though it was now the right time to really show a new chapter for that championship belt. And for me, I'm really pleased with it. I know that Rio is absolutely delighted with it. I know that there was a lot of very, very jealous talent backstage wanting that championship in the future. But it's beautiful, and I'm really pleased that so many people also have the same opinion. But for me, Progress has always been about parity. We've taken the women's division unbelievably seriously, and for me, the only way to show true parity, it's the actions speak louder than our words, and there's our actions. That championship belt is, for me, total parity to the men's. And then I guess in terms of the old championship, so this is where I guess gets quite interesting. So, for example, I noticed that beautiful Progress Men's World Championship over your shoulder there. Absolutely, yeah, beautiful. I'm genuinely jealous because on that run I should have actually kept one and I didn't. And I guess one of those things, just in terms of memories and whatnot. But in terms of that Men's World Championship, since we've taken over Progress, there's actually been 3 Men's World Championship belts, but people haven't realised this. At least I don't think they have, and I don't think I've actually got on record or spoke about it before. You've got the first one, the one that we inherited, which internally we refer to as the Pete Dunne, the Walter belt. Obviously now Gunther is the World Heavyweight Champion WWE. But it was, to be blunt, it was battered. It was absolutely battered. And we decided to make that change on that particular championship belt at the end of the Cara Noir Spike Trivet cage match. And in fact, if you actually look at that belt, it's still got Cara Noir's paint on that belt, believe it or not. So we retired that one. We then put a new one into play. And then we actually then had another one made that I felt as though was just a lot more polished and came across a lot better when it came to the Demand Progress Plus side in terms of how it looked and the reflections of it. So in terms of where are all the belts now, all of the belts are actually kind of kept by one of the Progress crew, Cal, So Cal literally looks after all of them. He's got the original Atlas Championship belt. He's got the original Tag Team Championship belts. Albeit randomly, Rio actually took the old championship belts after the last chapter, so we haven't actually received that back. But what we do is that we basically keep them in storage with Cal, and then when we do events such as for Love of Wrestling or things like that, we'll actually bring out the old championship belts for the fans to be able to take pictures with and stuff like that. And even though we've had some crazy offers from people wanting to buy them randomly, it's not something that we'd ever really entertain. We just kind of keep them in house for use for a rainy day, I guess.
You wouldn't be interested in a bottle of Iron Brew, maybe trade? I mean,
Iron Brew, absolutely. One of my best mates is Scottish. I feel like that's in his veins.
It's the lifeblood of this country. You look at the Water Leaf and it's 20% Iron Brew in there. I mean, it's just a part of the way we live up here. But I mean, yeah, it is. Like, I can imagine you probably had some mental offers, and I'm like, what can I give in this place? I mean, I have a darts board. Darts is fun. People like darts. But yeah, that's kind of cool that you have all the history there, and to allow the fans to still see that history of the belts that have been held by the greats of Progress, and to get that is a really great opportunity for the fans as well. But I know, obviously, the World Championship you mentioned there, the women's and the tags, they've all changed. But as of right, I don't believe the Atlas or the Protus have been changed recently. Is there still plans to maybe change those belt designs?
So we actually did change the Atlas. So when we absolutely, really crazy stuff. When we took over the company, we were like, "Where's the Atlas belt? Where's the Proteus belt?" Like, I appreciate the Proteus belt. Where is it? Actually, it was part of that conversation between Malik and Costa in terms of being detectives. The reality is, genuinely, where is the Proteus belt? But in terms of the Atlas, we actually have changed that. We changed that for a number of reasons, because when we took over the company, we didn't receive the Atlas belt, and it turned out that the Atlas belt randomly had been given to somebody, and we weren't aware of it. And then we had to track down that original Atlas belt and finally managed to receive it. I think, if memory serves you right, and I've got no idea why, how, but a fan that had come to a show, is my understanding, had that Atlas Championship belt, and somehow we managed to actually get it back through one of our colleagues who managed to get it back. But then it was, I mean, that was absolutely battered. I mean, my word. I love history in championship belts. I do, but I do believe you've got to get to a point where it's like, okay, well, we need to go one stage again. So the new Atlas Championship belt, it's got a beautiful red lining on the back of it, really polished, looks really smart, and of course Axel is our current Atlas champion on that. Whereas the Proteus, I have to say, the Proteus, when you actually look at it close up, I have to say, I think it's one of the most beautiful championships ever designed. I think it's absolutely incredible. So for me, I don't think we'd ever look to radically changing that one, at least, and fair play to the original designers of that, because that is a very beautiful championship.
Yeah, no, it is a beauty indeed. Obviously held by Paul Robinson, who's held it for over 1,000 days now, and he's just had that stellar match at 169, quite really cementing that legacy. So I'd love to know, say maybe 10 years down the line, when we've had maybe multiple lineages of the Proteus champion, when people look back to what Paul Robinson has done for that belt, what do you think he will be representative of the Proteus lineage of that championship?
Well, one of his nicknames is Proteus Paul. So for me, that says everything you need to know about that championship belt. And and legitimately, and this isn't just some sort of BS, he legitimately polishes that belt. Like, he looks after that belt like it's his baby, and you don't go anywhere near that championship belt. Well, to be fair, but again, it's a beautiful looking championship. But I think the fact one of his nicknames is Proteus Paul, I think tells you everything that you need to know about where he is in terms of that championship and what that legacy in terms of that Proteus championship means.
He's made it his own. Indeed it has. Now, obviously, this year has been quite massive for yourself as well. Obviously, the Defy merger as well, but obviously going over to Wrestletours for Mania 40 in Philadelphia. I know we spoke last time of the Wrestletours in LA for Mania 39, and now the tour in Mania 40. Two quite different, manias with environments and what's happened to WWE in itself. I would love to know, first of all, the whole Wrestletour experience in Philly. How did it compare to 39 in LA?
Do you know, well, it was a lot colder, I'll tell you that for sure. It was a lot colder. You know what, for me personally, it was a very, very different experience because during that WrestleMania week, we were able to bring Progress back to America. And we really, really thought we were going to be able to do that in Los Angeles. But unfortunately, a lot of paperwork that was happening behind the scenes in terms of the visas were all over the place. And one of the main reasons for that was because coming out of COVID, the US Embassy didn't have anywhere near as many staff as they normally would do. So by the time we got all of our stuff back, we were literally in the position for what would have been LA, where I believe we would have probably had half the talent would have had the visas and half the talent not. So for us to go back and do a full Progress show, I wanted it to be a proper full Progress show. So therefore, yes, it disappointed some of the talent, no doubt about it, but not as much as it disappointed myself and Martin, I can assure you. But in the end, by having that first show back in Philadelphia, and then also being part of that collective with Defy, it was really, really special. So to have a complete sellout show in Philadelphia when we hadn't been to America in such a long period of time, for me was really, really special. And and also as well, it's what was very, very cool about it was meeting so many American fans that knew so much about Progress and were so infused by it and wanted to know more and wanted us to come back and everything else in between it all. And sometimes when you're kind of in that UK bubble, sometimes you don't necessarily realize what the brand can actually mean to people globally. But I mean, our traffic at the moment on our website is absolutely mental. It's the highest amount of traffic Progress has ever had in its entire history. And I think about 40% of that is American traffic. So it kind of shows you where the brand is going, what it's doing. And we can see that in terms of the amount of people that are watching us from America and Canada on Demand Progress Plus. So whilst we're obviously very proud of the fact we're a UK-based promotion, we've definitely got even more global ambitions, and that's of course why we've given talent the visas. And you've obviously seen the likes of man like Derice and Tate Mayfair's was on AEW amongst other things. So that was pretty crazy because he's on our visa. I was getting messages off him and QT Marshall at, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, about trying to put all the stuff together so he could, because that's one of the things I appreciate. It's not a sexy thing to talk about, but the reality is that to work in America, you've got to have a visa, you've got to do it legally. But it's such a difficult process and a costly process, but you've got to do things right. So, but it's great to see talent that are on Progress actually, kicking ass abroad as well. So yeah, it's really good.
Indeed, man. I think that's something maybe some wrestling fans don't understand, why a lot of UK talent go over to America, is that they need a lot of funding and time with these, and that's something I don't think fans fully understand. And that opportunity that's given by Progress and yourself for the talent to go over there is truly extraordinary, and honestly is a proud thing that you should be truly, truly proud of. But obviously you mentioned American fans there, but not just that, American wrestlers love Progress as well, because I had Donovan Dijak on like week after his WWE departure, and he mentioned how Progress was one of the companies that contacted him after his departure, and he felt so humbled and gratified by that, to know that there were companies that wanted to have him featured on that show. And I know I actually messaged you about that, Lee, to show you and highlight that you had that connection with Dijak. When you hear about that from somebody like Dijak, that he had such an appreciation of getting your asking to come to the show and all that and work for Progress, what does it mean to you to see that's reciprocated by the talent?
Yeah, it's unbelievably humbling, and I really, really mean this. At the end of the day, we're putting on a platform, right? But obviously, for us to see that there's the likes of Dijak, and there's a whole host of other people that are always into that are emailing us or sending us DMs and stuff like that they want to be in Progress. They want to see what it's like to be at the Electric Ballroom, specifically in Camden, etc. And it's incredibly humbling, the fact that talent of that ilk want to be on Progress. And for me, it's humbling, full stop. And I'm so thankful for all the talent, whether they're British based or American based, Japanese based, whatever, the fact that they want to be on Progress. So yeah, that'll always be unbelievably humbling, and yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, truly is, my friend. And also, I know you had Shelton Benjamin over for Super Strong Style 16 as well. That was crazy to see, because I remember I saw the social media post and everyone lost their collective shit. Like, holy shit, Shelton Benjamin's coming back for Progress and the UK as well. So when, like, obviously when people's contract come up, whether there be WWE, AEW, or whatever, and that free agency pool is available, how is it that you treat it and you analyze talent to get onto Progress shows? What's like the whole analytic process of that?
Gosh, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, sometimes we'll reach out to talent. Sometimes we'll just know, just purely because we're in the space. So we'll sometimes know if certain contracts are coming up. And then other times it may well be that somebody sends you, I mean, ironically, not that I'm trying to be a pain, but I had a very, very well-known talent today that wants to be on Progress, which is really, really cool. But sometimes it's just a question of a variety of different ways and different contacts and whatnot, and different conversations that come to me or the rest of the team. And then what will happen is that between myself and Andrew and James and Martin, we'll sit down and we'll make a judgment call on it and decide whether or not there's a deal to be had that suits everybody, really. And there's no kind of specific process as such in terms of like, this, but it's also as well, if we're bringing a talent over, we want them to fit into our storylines and how that works, because, for me, of course, I've got a massive appreciation for, unbelievable wrestling matches on its own, 5 stars, 6 stars, God knows how many stars we're going to have in the future, right? God knows where it's going, right? But for me, what I love about professional wrestling is the storytelling, the character work. That for me is always so important. And one of the things that I've been doing recently, alongside Dean Allmark, who I have to say is I'm learning so much from Dean. And if the listeners and viewers haven't heard of Dean Allmark, please go out your way to look at some of his matches, because he trained Tony Storm. He creates so many moves that you actually then see. In fact, there was one recently where somebody had I can't remember who it was now, but it was on his social media. Someone had obviously watched his new move set and someone was doing it on AEW. But one of the things I've been trying to do is to try and create promo classes for up and coming talent, because for me, there is no doubt there is some unbelievable talent that are coming through the UK, absolutely, and Ireland, absolutely no doubt. But I do think the one area that everybody can improve upon is the promo side and the character building, how to make the most out of social media and everything else that comes into that. So whilst I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert in that field, what I am trying to do is try and create different ways to help the talent. There's a fantastic young wrestler in Liverpool called Critchy, really, really good talent, fantastic on the mic. And he's got some real potential. And I've been working a little bit with him behind the scenes to try and get him to that next level. He was in a fantastic match with Bussy at TNT Extreme Wrestling alongside Tom McCall, who's also another great talent. But that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to work with new talent that are coming through and try and shape them and position them to the point that when they've got a microphone in the hand, they're going to know what to do. They're going to have that experience and everything else that comes alongside that. So, for me, that's one of the things that I love working with talent. I love working with talent that are really hungry to succeed. And big shout out to Claw Wrestling up in Liverpool. That's kind of headed up by Dean Allmark and Jay. So yeah, some really, really cool stuff that's going up there.
Wow, hey, truly stellar to see, and that opportunity to allow people to get that learning opportunity through promos or any other opportunities that you can provide them is so amazing to see, because you can learn from everything. Every single day opportunities, you can get that extra bit of skill that can better yourself, whether it's for wrestling or daily life, and to allow that opportunity for people, stellar, mate, truly stellar. Now, obviously, something really, really cool I need to talk about is that when I saw, Axel Tischer coming in and doing stuff, him and Big Damo are called Sanity. And I was like, oh, does WWE not own that trademark? Like, how is that? What legal loopholes are we jumping through here to get the Sanity name? So how did that come about? Did the talent find out, like, oh, we can use the name? Did you find out they could use the name? How did that all come about of being allowed Sanity to be called, well, Sanity?
Do you know what? I have to say that's a great question. A really good question. Not one that I can probably answer in full. You probably need to speak to Damo and Axel on that one, if I'm being perfectly frank with you. But obviously, you look at the likes of Mustafa Ali, who's obviously come out using his name, etc. So yeah, there's different sets of circumstances for different talent, really. So, and then of course you then got prior relationships to the point where there may be permissions there and stuff like that. And yeah, great question. Not one I can probably properly answer, because it's more so you need to speak to Damo and Axel about that one.
Everyone has their secrets, and some people just have the right key to open that. But hey, it just shows the craziness and fun of that as well. Now, I do want to touch on upon going back to Philadelphia for Mania 40. Obviously, watching it here at home and seeing the environment, it looked truly amazing. I mean, hey, I was at 39. I think it maybe surpassed that with just the atmosphere of people really hyped for, obviously, The Rock being there, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, the second encounter as well. For yourself, Lee, being there, obviously with the Wrestletour group as well, what was that whole atmosphere like of being there in the stadium to witness Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns too?
It was incredible. But I'll tell you what was pretty crazy about it, because of where we were all sat. We were sat next to, in terms of like literally in the corridor outside of where our suites were. There was everybody from Kevin Owens to CM Punk to Undertaker to Damian Priest to CJ Perry. I mean, it was just absolutely mental. So all of a sudden, you're then actually seeing some of the reactions of talent for what they're seeing at the time. But obviously, Undertaker was obviously part of that main event. But you see where I'm coming from, on that. So to kind of be in and amongst where all of that craziness was happening. I mean, I remember Paul Benson and his son were literally coming out, and then I think they came out the lift, and then there was CM Punk, and they were taking a selfie with him, just random stuff, right? So it was a very special experience, to the point that you felt as though you were very, very much in the infancy of everything that was then happening, not just now, but for what was a whole new time for WWE in terms of the TKO organization and structure. But I think it's fantastic, the fact that they've managed to, I mean, let me put it another way. I remember watching Cody Rhodes in Liverpool for a promotion called Fight Forever with Brandy. And it was also when Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad were over as well. And Cody had obviously backed himself to say, right, I'm going to go a different path. I'm going to rebuild myself and everything else into the future. So for me, when he won that championship, for me, that's the kind of moment that I looked at for when I was hanging out with him, chatting to him, in between him wanting Nando's every 5 minutes randomly. Well, and the Godfather randomly was ordering fish and chips all the time. Anyway, that's that, as you do. So, but for me, it's just incredible to see the fact that such a turnaround from that Stardust character to all of a sudden being the top of the mountain and what he's doing now. That was really, really special. And obviously to see The Rock come out and the Undertaker, it was like the old guard meets the new guard, and here's a whole new way of doing things. I mean, I think every WrestleMania is special, and every WrestleMania is slightly different. I mean, I always think of my first WrestleMania for WrestleMania 30, and I still remember where I was sat, literally in the gods, and loads of us just thought that a mistake had happened and the Undertaker had actually won, but they'd played the wrong music and all this other kind of stuff. But every single WrestleMania is different, right? But WrestleMania was 40 was pretty cool, but it was cold. I much prefer a warm WrestleMania. I can't lie about that.
Well, I think you're in luck there, Lee, because next year Vegas, the City of Sin, WrestleMania will be coming to Las Vegas, and I'm sure it will definitely be hot with all the sinners betting and gambling away their life savings, probably me included. Nonetheless, though, I want to know 2 questions. Obviously, first for Wrestletours, how was the whole process of setting up your packages for Las Vegas, and how's the reception been to them? And second, for Progress, could we see Progress return and do an American show during Mania weekend next year in Vegas?
So what we do for Wrestletours is that we literally only have a specific amount of places. And the reason why we do that is, even though we could sell a whole load more, and I really mean this wholeheartedly, but what we're offering is we're offering people the opportunity to not just come to WrestleMania, but you're actually part of that Progress family. So you're literally in and amongst Progress talent, you're in and amongst relationships of ours where people will just randomly come to our hotel and see us. So, for example, there's a number of times, especially in WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40. So it's an opportunity for fans to kind of peel the curtain back a little bit and kind of see how some of the magic happens. but then also know full well that all they have to do is turn up and we take care of every single part of it. But they're able to engage and interact with the talent, whether, and for example, the last WrestleMania, it was just a bit crazy, really. We had everybody, turn up in our suites. Even Michael Oku turned up in our suites. Just put up with other. But yeah, there was so many people that just came around there. That Summer Rae, CJ Perry. There's so many people who just turn up, and it's really, really cool to be able to then see the reactions of the fans, to then literally be watching WrestleMania with some of these people, or just hanging out with them in the hotel lobbies, the bars, and stuff like that. So we literally, it's not a huge number at all, in terms of people that we take. But what we do is that we know that we're going to be able to offer that particular number a fantastic time, fantastic opportunity. And the reality is that we actually, well, in fact, only because the hotel ended up giving us, I think it was 5 more rooms by default. We're basically sold out on Wrestletours for WrestleMania as things stand. So I think we've got, again, it's a slightly different package that we've not advertised, but only because we managed to get 4 hotel rooms from the Park MGM. So yeah, if people want to do Wrestletours, and this isn't just some sort of promoter type speak, you legitimately just have to get in there like major ASAP, because I'm really not like being over the top when I say this. We've literally got I think about 4,500 people on a waiting list at the moment for next year.
Jeez.
Which is just absolutely. I'm not saying all 4,500 will then commit and go, and not that we can even do anywhere near that number. You're not like, oh God, not even 10%, not even close. But regardless, it's really cool the fact that we've created something as an opportunity to the fans. But what we'll always do is we'll always look to the ones that have come with us as a returner, if you like. First and foremost, they're the ones that have those options, and then from that we then offer it to our waiting lists and general public and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really, really excited for Vegas. And in terms of your point, there is a lot of Progress talent that have got. There's 24 of them that have got Progress that got US visas, and obviously not everyone's used them yet. So I very much firmly believe we'll be in America sooner rather than later, for sure. And whether it's before WrestleMania or not, I guess you'll have to keep an eye out for that one.
Oh, you're getting me excited, Lee. You're getting me excited. Now I'm going to be in Vegas. I'll definitely attend. If I've not passed out under the blackjack table, if I have, please then come drag me to the show. I'm not going to be able to use my legs.
Just brew, pal. You'll be fine.
Whoa, Lee, there's a problem there. The Americans, it's 15 pounds for a can of Iron Brew. I found in a shop there last year. It was £15. Now look, I'm patriotic than the other skull, but £15 is £15. I can't eat. On my good conscience, on the Bank of Scotland itself, I cannot make that purchase. That is a crime. And look, scrap the 100 milliliter fluid restriction in flights. I'll bring over a 6-pack. That'll work out. But bank account, I must protect. But I think what's fun as well with wrestling, it's so diverse and you're allowed many opportunities to enjoy what you like. And I remember seeing on Cultaholic on Parts of Unknown, Tegan rating the Rufus Hound Battle Royale as her favorite match of the year. And to see that, like how wrestling fans couldn't view their favorite match or favorite, wrestler completely different from 20 or 30 other individuals. What does that mean to you to just see that variedness of wrestling fans and what they like?
Well, for me, again, I appreciate this is just my opinion, right? And everyone's got a different opinion. But for me, when I go to a wrestling show, I want to see some variety. I don't want to see the same thing over and over and over again. And working with Rufus was a wonderful experience for everybody, because he's got so much experience when it comes to TV and everything else like that. And what people might not know is that Rufus actually legitimately, and this isn't like freebie tickets or whatever, Rufus legitimately comes to Progress shows. We have another Ed Gamble comes to Progress shows. It's really cool that there's fantastic comedians and presenters and stuff like that off their own back actually want to come to Progress. But yeah, it was. I have to say, like, legitimately, I was really humbled when I saw that was her favorite match. That was really, really cool. And for me, that was such a crazy match, right? It was so different. It was a bit of, I mean, don't be wrong, I don't think people were expecting G Money to basically turn heel, but but nevertheless, for me, it was a lot of fun, and that's what you need, that variety. And yes, of course, there's the real serious stuff, but at the same time, for me, you want to have that balance and to have a bit of humor, a bit of variety. That for me, I felt as though exactly what that. I can never even say it properly, Ben. Right? It's like the Rufus Hound Battle Royal Memorial. I can't even say that. Literally, we will all get. It's like that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, whatever, where no one can say it properly. It's always slightly different. And then Rufus purposely was trying to change it and make it a bit longer behind the scenes. So I was like, right, okay, the commentary team are going to absolutely love this. But no, it was cool, and it was a really, really positive experience. And I know that a lot of the talent also felt the same in terms of working with Rufus and his ideas, and he's got a huge, huge passion for professional wrestling.
Truly, truly, indeed. And it's just that love is amazing as well. But obviously, I actually want to kind of take it back to the old Vegas for a minute as well, because, if we do see other companies do their and go shows, they need to find places to have it. I want to know, as a promoter, Lee, and yourself, do you think that Las Vegas Sphere could be a wrestling event show? Do you think we could have a wrestling show in that Sphere in Vegas?
I do, very much so, yeah, I do. I think what you'll see is that UFC have got a show in October. I think that'll be very much the test bed to see how it can be done. For me, I think we will be seeing at some point a show in the Sphere, definitely. Of course, that throws up a whole host of logistical scenarios, but I guess UFC, as part of that TKO group, they're going to be seeing exactly how that works in October. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how it is for them, and I think that will then have a knock-on effect in terms of whether or not there's WWE shows in there in the future.
Well, you better get ready to write the chapters names. Get things to rhyme with Saphir. Has to be Saphir base. Get the name down so it can be good to go, my friend. But we have to come back home as well, because Progress has got quite a weekend coming up in literally a few weeks. All In Weekend's making a return, and you have Wrestling Never Sleeps happening at the Electric Ballroom on the 26th of August. Before we get into the card itself, I want to know, how has it been preparing for this chapter previous to last year with All In Weekend? Has there been things you've learned maybe about timing or building the cards or advertising? What have you learned from last year's All In Weekend to coming up to this year's All In Weekend?
Well, I think considering there hadn't been an event of that scale for wrestling in London since 1992, I don't think there was a lot of people that kind of knew exactly what to think and everything else in and around that. Whereas I would say now it became more obvious by default, just in terms of how that schedule was going to look like for different wrestling shows and whatnot. Because in a perfect world, you don't want, for example, big promotions being on at the same time. The only people that lose actually are the fans and the talent. So let's try and create a scenario where actually, if fans want to be able to go to a variety of shows, they can do. And I do feel as though that is a lot better this year compared to what it was last year. So, in that regard, we decided that we were going to run the Monday, Bank Holiday Monday. And I think legitimately, I think we've only got, and I appreciate by the time this goes out, it may have changed, but we had 6 seated tickets left and about 30 standing for that show, which is really, really cool. But in terms of logistics, I can tell you we learned a lot, because it was really expensive to have hotels in and around that time. So literally, when we got given the heads up by somebody that AEW was going back to Wembley, legitimately, I was actually in the suite with Hooked On and Wrestletours, ironically alongside Anthony Agogo, who was watching the show with us. And we were literally sorting hotels out in that suite. So that definitely helped in that regard. So yeah, we're running the Monday, so that gives people the opportunity. And there's so many fantastic shows that weekend. I know that I'm a massive fan of North Wrestling. North's running the show on the Saturday afternoon at 1:00. You've got Nigel McGuinness's Magic Show on the Friday. You've got there's so many different things that are happening across that weekend. And hopefully fans can go to as many shows and support wrestling as much as they possibly can do, because it's fantastic the fact that there is so many people coming to London and all around wrestling. So for me, it can only help grow the scene and more so. The slight change this year for us is the fact we had a double header last year. We had Progress, and then we had Defy. This year it's just Progress. However, Kenta's going to be defending that Defy World Championship against Ricky Knight Jr. So we've kind of had a bit more of a collaboration between the two brands there. So that's a slight difference in that regard. But it's, for me, I'm looking forward to the whole weekend. Some fantastic shows, some fantastic events, and yeah, can't wait for it all to happen.
Oh mate, yeah, I'm excited too. I'm ready to go. My bags are packed. I'm ready to get that annoying train ride down south. Please be. I hate the train rides. But the card itself looks amazing. Obviously, you mentioned the Defy World Championship being on the line. Kenta, Ricky Knight Jr. You got Leon Slater versus Marcus Mathers as well. But some matches I need to talk about right now are, ones that hit home close to home because they feature people who've been on this show. One I got to talk about first is Riho against Session Moth Martina for the Progress Women's World Championship. This new side of Martina, going against Charles Crowley, there's just this new embracing side for Riho. She's had so many great defenses of this championship. Do you think maybe now with Martina and this new embracing character she's personified, is this going to be Rio's most challenging defense of the Progress Women's World Championship?
This is a different Session Moth Martina. This is a Session Moth Martina that's, I think, started to realize, actually, do you know what? I need some championship gold. That's what I need. So in relation to that, I think we are seeing a very, very different side to her that, to be honest with you, it is without doubt going to be one of the biggest tests for Rhea. Absolutely no doubt about it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what this new Session Moth Martina looks like.
Yeah, hopefully Rio, grits her teeth and finally can put down Session Moth Martina and maybe kick a few cans out the way and get her out the back and remain champion, because we like to see guests become champion. But then Session Moth is a guest too. Hey, I'm divided. I need to remain neutral. One match, I won't be remaining neutral. I know is Eddie Dennis versus Tate Mayfair's. Tate, two-time guest of this show. But I do need to bring up to your attention, Lee, when Tate was on, he was quite pissed. He was quite pissed. He feels like Progress Management has always sidetracked him. He was quite undefeated for a while until Eddie Dennis cost him that. He feels like he's always been shafted. He's done so many great things. AEW debut, TNT World Extreme Champion for nearly a full calendar year as well. Riot Cabaret Tag Team Champion, Hustle Wrestling Champion. He's done so much, but when he was on, he was quite furious that he has been sidetracked and not given an opportunity at the Progress World Champion. What do you say to Tate when this is his feelings towards Progress Management, that he has not been treated fairly and not really given the opportunities that he so rightfully deserves?
Tate Mayfair's had that opportunity and he lost at Super Strong Star 16 to Eddie Dennis. What more is there to possibly say? Luke Jacobs won Strong Style. He went on to face Kid Lykos, who became the Progress Men's World Champion. Tate Mayfair's lost to Eddie Dennis. He's got that opportunity now to showcase whether or not he can beat Eddie Dennis in August. So let's see. But for me, it's nothing more complicated than that. He had the opportunity, and now he's got to build up by beating Eddie Dennis. So appreciate what he's done at TNT Extreme Wrestling is unbelievable. On a whole different level. What he's done in terms of the going to Uganda. And the thing, what I will say as well is that from that bit with Eddie Dennis, is that you can actually see some of the real Tate Mayfairs underneath the skin. He paid for his own flight to Uganda. He has been representing that TNT Extreme World Championship belt like nobody else has ever done so before. And you think of who the previous champions of that, that includes Gunter, for example, okay? And there's an argument. There's an argument that he is potentially the greatest TNT Extreme Wrestling World Champion ever. But that isn't Progress, that's TNT.
Fair play and then a fair answer. However, will Tate respond to that? That will be very interesting to see nonetheless. Now, we were coming to the end of our time here, but I want to obviously highlight just two final questions for you. Second last one is obviously your collaboration with Pro Wrestling Noah for a UK tour coming up as well, which is quite historic to see. I would love to know, how did that whole tour come about and what does it mean to you to collaborate with Noah on this UK tour?
Yeah, no, it's very special. Really looking forward to working with them on the ground more in terms of what that looks like. We've been building that relationship up a lot in terms of Yoichi and other talent as well. And I think it's going to be a really some 3 great shows: Edinburgh, Manchester, and London. So yeah, really, really excited in terms of what that looks like. Pro Wrestling Noah is doing and has been doing some fantastic stuff globally. You can see the fact that Marufuji's been doing stuff with WWE. He's been going up against AJ Styles. So the fact that Marufuji is going to be coming to our shows in the UK or supported by us is going to be really, really special. So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Like, truly going to be historically indeed. Well, Lee McAteer, Kona of Progress, thank you for coming on for a second appearance here on the Soul Sessions. But of course, before we wrap up, one final question. A year ago has changed so much for not only myself, but Progress as well, and wrestling in general. If we catch up again in another year's time in 2025, what's some things you would love to see Progress achieve in that year time frame?
Oh gosh, wow. What a great question. I'd like us to, I guess obviously more shows in America, more shows globally. Obviously, we're actually doing a show with WXW later in the year in Germany. But what I would say, one of my ambitions is to try and run another Alexandra Palace show. That's one of the things I really want us to work towards. So that for me is something that I would love to be able to do in the future, but we've got to do it right. We've got to build it right. And I think when I came onto the show last time, I said that I probably underestimated how big a job it was to actually rebuild Progress. But I do feel as though we're on that right path now, and I sincerely hope the next time we're speaking, we're talking about a potential show at Alexandra Palace in the future.
Well, hey, if it happens, my friend, you can bet your arse I'll be suited up and ready to attend that, my friend, and see the great things you put on. Well, folks, thank you, Lee, for coming on here on the Soul Sessions. And folks, if you love what you've heard of Progress, I will include a link to Progress's Instagram as well as the website. Get the Man Progress Plus, because it is a great service. Many great things on that app to watch and enjoy. Well, folks, neck your pints, put your chairs away, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions.